Today we are going to discuss classification of chordates. If we talk about classification of phylum Chordata, then it can be divided into three subphyla. Subphylum Urochordata, subphylum Cephalochordata and subphylum Vertebrata. Then this subphylum Vertebrata is again divided into two divisions. We have division A Gnatha and division Gnathostomes, which are further divided into superclasses and classes. First, coming to subphylum Urochordata, as the name indicates, Euro means tail and chordata means notochord. So in this case, all the individuals have notochord, which is present only in the tail region. Another main characteristic feature of Urochordata is that adults in this case are sedentary. Sedentary means they are fixed to substratum, whereas the larval form is motile. That means larval form is more advanced as compared to adults, and that's why we say that in case of Urochordates there is retrogressive metamorphosis. That is, it's in this change occurs from a less developed adult to a better developed larval form. Sometimes subphylum Urochordata is also termed as subphylum Tunicata. Why we call it as Tunicata? Because in this subphylum, the individuals are covered with a leathery test or tunic, which is formed by cellulose-like organic material, tunicin. So basically it is because of this test or tunic, this subphylum is also termed as Tunicata. Then one of the important characteristic of chordates, which I have already explained you, is dorsal tubular nerve cord. So in case of Urochordata, dorsal tubular nerve cord is found only in the larval form and it is replaced by dorsal ganglia in the adult. In case of Urochordata, the pharynx is um, perforated by numerous apertures which are called as stigmata, and these stigmata are heavily ciliated, and it is due to the beating of the cilia water enters into the body of the organism and the animal filters the food from the incoming current of water. That's why almost all the animals belonging to Urochordata are termed as filter feeder. Another important thing is presence of atrium in case of Urochordates. Basically, body cavity is termed as coelom, but in case of Urochordata, we call the body cavity as atrium because it is ectodermally lined, unlike the true coelom, which is mesodermally lined. Important examples of this subphyla are Hudmania, Dololium, Salpa, and Botrolius. Next subphyla is subphyla Cephalochordata. As the name indicates, cephalo means head. So in this case, the notochord extends up to the head, extends from head to tail of the animal. Second important point where it differs from Urochordata is that in case of Cephalochordata, notochord is present in both larval as well as adult form. So in this case we have progressive metamorphosis rather than retrogressive, because in this case notochord persists to the adult and both adult and larval form are motile. Then here also pharynx region is having a large amount of slits which help in again filter feeding the food. Atrium is also present. Again it is ectodermally lined. And the important example of cephalochordata is branchiostoma, which is also termed as amphioxus and also commonly known as lancelet. Why we call as lancelet? Because it has pointed ends, both interior as well as posterior end of this organism is pointed. Subphyla Urochordata and Cephalochordata are oftenly collectively termed as protochordates or acrania. Why it is called as acrania? Because here there is no brain box or cranium. Then the last subphyla of phylum Chordata is subphylum Vertebrate or crenata. As the name indicates, crenata means it has all the organisms, all the individuals having cranium or brain box which surrounds the brain. And notochord is present only in the embryonic stage and it is replaced by vertebral column in the adults. That's why this subphylum is termed as vertebrata. This, this subphylum shows a high degree of cephalization, that means formation of head, and we have a closed circulatory system. Respiratory organ may be gills, skin, buccopharyngeal cavity or lungs. Pair of kidneys are present. Sexes are separate or they may be unisexual individuals, but there is no asexual reproduction. Subphylum Vertebrata is divided into two divisions, Division A Ganatha and Division Ganathostomata. Division A Ganatha includes those individuals or those organisms which lack jaws, and the best example is lamprey, which belongs to class Cyclostomata, whereas Ganathostomata are those are bearing those organisms which have jaws. And it has two superclasses, superclass Pisces and superclass Tetrapoda. Pisces includes those organisms which have fins, whereas Tetrapoda, which literally means four-footed animals, belongs those organisms which have limbs. If we talk about division Ganathostomata, then it is divided into two superclasses. We have superclass Tetrapoda and superclass Pisces. And this superclass Pisces is again divided into two classes. We have Chondrichthyes, class Chondrichthyes and class Ostrichthyes. Chondrichthyes includes cartilaginous fishes, whereas Ostrichthyes includes bony fishes. And superclass Tetrapoda is further divided into four classes. We have class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Apes and class Mammalia. Amphibia, as you know, are having those organisms which can live both on land as well as on water, whereas class Reptilia includes those organisms whose exoskeleton is made up of horny scales or scutes, whereas class Aves includes those organisms which have feathers for flying, and mammalia are those having exoskeleton as hair and give birth to young ones.